So whatever my mind can see, that I will achieve. Because I do the things I should, between my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, to reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on. So whatever my mind can see, that I will achieve. Because I do the things I should, between my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. So whatever my mind can see, that I will achieve. Because I do the things I should, between my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on.
Oh yes, my Straight Talk family, let's keep moving on. And in the process, allow me to extend a very pleasant night to all of you right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and to my Straight Talk family all over the Caribbean region. We down south in Trinidad and on the mainland of South America, there, Guyana, and we do have our family as well in Venezuela. And as we come up to Barbados, good night Barbados, good night to the OECS on the windward sides of the OECS, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Grenada, as well as our friends, mes amis de Martinique, Guadeloupe, as well as Antigua and Barbuda. I always skip past Montserrat. How is Montserrat tonight? I trust all is well. I haven't been to Montserrat for some time, but you're always in my heart. How is my good minister colleague, former minister colleague, as well, the former minister of communications, public works as well. How are things, my brother? And I say good night to Anguilla. How did I get so far and skip past St. Eustatius, Sabre, St. Bart's, St. Martin? And I got all the way to Anguilla. But let's move on to the BVI, Anegada, Virgin Gorda, Tortola, and the USVI, Betty in St. Thomas. How are you doing, my dear? St. John's, St. Croix, Santa Cruz, Jackie in St. Croix. We haven't heard you for some time. Trust all is well with you. Puerto Rico, we Buenas noches también. As well, my Straight Talk family, I'm here. Yes, we go to the wider diaspora, I am saying, to, and we're all over the world. On the World Wide Web, we can touch you in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, and all over North America. So let me say good night, let me say good morning, and or let me say good afternoon, because one of such greetings is applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And I always ensure that I greet our first timers. And I want to thank all of you who continue to share the link to Straight Talk so we can get the word out. And it's a program, we do not vanish the truth. But for our first timers, we facilitate and promote all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. In the process, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liebert, and I thank Almighty God at all times for blessing me with this opportunity to join you once again in conversation on yet another occasion. And first timers, Straight Talk is a program you hear every Monday and Thursday night from 8 until 10 in the PM. And for my good friends who said I did not pay my electricity bill when they shut down, unceremoniously shut down our program when the former Prime Minister was on. Yes, my bill is up to date, but you know, some people do not like to hear the truth, so they'll do everything and anything to suppress free speech. Even though, yes, we are 40 years on as an independent nation, and I title my thesis tonight, Our Federation Yearns for Leadership After 40 Years. But I'll get to that, my Straight Talk family. I want to hail my young brigade, Dwayne. Mama and Papa said he calls me Papa when he sees me come to the screen. I trust you're okay. Dwayne. Tristan. I trust you're okay. Shama, young OJ. I trust you're fine. Kevin Hanley, how is school at the Charlestown Secondary? Hope you have settled down by now. And I always touch that special lady in St. Louis. And for those of you who may have been pondering all the while, she's not in St. Louis, but I must touch that good old lady from St. Kitts who lives in St. Louis. Make a guess. My Straight Talk family. But on a solemn note, I heard of the passing of Charles Pemberton. Yes, Charles worked in the agriculture department for many years. And I heard of his passing, and I trust and hope that his entire family would come to grips with the fact that death is a process. As I always say, we can't say anything, but the truth is, those who are closest to him will tell us that who feels it knows it, and that is a fact. Who feels it, my Straight Talk family, knows it. And so I want to extend my profound sympathy to his dear wife and my family. How is Madam Crosley, his mom-in-law? Freddie, I haven't seen you a bit, but to his entire family, we want to extend condolences and remind you that God is in the midst of everything. And all those who may have lost loved ones who I may not have heard about, we do extend condolences as well to you and your family. I want to in terms of our observations in review, we do also to have our observations in review on a regular basis, and it's a time when we reflect on the issues that we would have raised, and we follow up on these issues, because you see, if we don't, these leaders of ours would get away scot-free. I haven't heard from my good friend Ashley how is the importation of those tanks, those expensive water tanks. You understand, some $5.8 million. I'm happy for you, Ashley, but I'm not happy with the process. 1,000 tanks at $5.8 million. Those are expensive tanks, don't you think? But I wish you well, and I trust that the matters of water will be solved whenever those tanks are procured and are here. I also learned today that after almost 1 year, the Attorney General has finally filled that vacant position of Director of Public Prosecutions. Public prosecution, I think that's the right word. And I'm happy to inform you, my Straight Dog family, that the Director of Public Prosecution is now from Antigua, Adlai Smith, who has been appointed and finally fills that vacant position, very important position in the court process. So we wish him well, and we trust that you would not be influenced by anything or anyone. I know we are human beings, but we wish you well, Mr. Smith, and trust that you'll have a successful tenure here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's a lovely place, but it's a very strange place as well. And I informed you some time ago about the bad news, or the wrong news, or the inaccurate news that is so often peddled by our Prime Minister, by Dr. Drew. And he keeps on saying and telling us about this country wasn't open, and the country this and country what have you. I played information from the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Hazel Laws, who informed the nation some time ago when the country was in fact open and the lifting of travel restrictions were facilitated. And yes, there were some iterations, however you want to pronounce that. And it happened. It happened even, as I said, in traveling to the U.S. once you are not a U.S. citizen. I believe you're citizens as well are subject to such iterations. Verify. And that only stopped, I believe, was sometime in February or March 2023, right? But CMO laws announced this some time ago. I want to remind us, lest we be misled by our leaders.
As a federation, as a small island developing state, we have done well with respect to our COVID-19 response. Our approach to our borders and how we operate at our borders and how we monitor our borders have done us well in terms of reducing our risk of exposure to the virus. Now, talking about borders, our borders have been open since October the 31st, 2020. And so we have had different iterations of our entry protocols, and each iteration has been guided by data, science, and the latest information locally, regionally.
Yes, so our borders been open since October 2020, and they're different protocols. The CMO referred to them as iterations. But even the cruise ship schedule, these cruise ship schedules or cruise ships have started returning since in October of 2021. My Straight Dog family, October of 2021. And I tried, I overlooked the fact, but I was going to give you some more information. But I did, in fact, show you this information with the schedules in November. We had some 30 cruise ship calls. So I don't know why our Prime Minister, I don't know why Dr. Joe won't desist from misleading the country, my Straight Dog family. He has to desist from misleading the country. And another area of misinformation that our leader peddles is the area as it relates to the Basteterre High School. And I deliberately never really touched it because I did not want to give any credence to the nonsense that Dr. Jew continues to peddle on his radio programs. And I wonder why he does that, because in the process he insults the intelligence of so many people in St. Kitts and Nevis when he tells lies, and tells these blatant lies as a matter of fact, my Straight Dog family. And I wanted to also share with you the callous behavior, I call it, of the Jew administration when they move or took a decision to put a stop to the construction process of the Basteterre High School over there in the Ponds area. And the government literally, hear this, the government literally threw millions of dollars down the drain just because of their politics, and I dare say their absurd political way of dealing with things. Because over the period of time, the Basteterre High School project and this public works can and should, and the reporters are so, our reporters here, some of them respectfully are like palace guards. And when they hear this nonsense coming from the lips of our Prime Minister, they ought to challenge it. Because how could 14 or $15 million be spent on dirt? A contractor challenged Dr. Jew and said the project was shovel ready. And he, instead of trying to understand what is the definition of being shovel ready, right? He chats nonsense. Because before the school is constructed, of course you have to do your architectural drawings. You have to do all the civil and structural drawings, all the mechanical and electrical drawings. I mean, for those who would have constructed their own homes, they would know this, my Straight Dog family. Very important as well is the EIA, or the Environmental and Social Impact Study that was done. Because of the location of the school as well, a traffic and pedestrian study was done. And yes, if you have a school built in that area, in any particular area, of course you must understand where the water flow will go. So the upland storm water study was done and models were done. as it relates to the drainage. The groundwater study and modeling was done. The landscaping, fittings and furnishings plan were done. My Street Dog family, stormwater drainage plan, I mentioned that before. And of course, all the bills of quantities had to be done. And the list goes on, and you can see that on your screen, my Street Dog family. So I don't know why but it behoves me and it beats me to absorb this nonsense, the lies being peddled by our Prime Minister. And the completion of all these activities marked a significant milestone in the development of that particular project. And we ought to give kudos to all those who were involved, in particular our Department of Public Works, or Public Works Department, as it is normally called. And my Street Dog family, again, you can look at your screen and you will see for yourselves. And we must chastise and we must say a shame on this administration to just literally throw away millions of dollars, just throw it down the drain. And we understand that another company, a Barbadian company, is being identified to do this project, a company by the name of Rock Hard, I think it is. And we are following that story. But my Street Dog family, I tell you, lots of things are happening. The Prime Minister mentioned his advisors. He didn't say how many advisors he has, and he didn't say what costs. But he tries to distract us with other things. But we are following the important things, my Street Dog family, and we will keep you informed. I'm also following that big story about the interest being forgiven on the Christopher Harbour debt. And it must come to light. If that is accurate, it must come to light. Because whether next year in the financial statements or this year in the financial statements of the National Bank, because I know I think the financial year ends in August or sometime, but it will come forward. You can't hide that. The managing director, Terence Crossman, the chairperson, Mrs. Body, these things must come to light. But all we ask of them is to ensure there is good corporate governance in the process. And those are my observations in review for tonight, my Street Dog family. And with your understanding, with your permission, with your indulgence, I want to move to our next, on my thesis for tonight, which I have titled our Federation Yearns for leadership, beg your pardon, after 40 years. And I thought I would keep a little focus on our independence, 40 years of independence, which in a few days from now, on Tuesday next, the 19th of September to be exact, our Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis will celebrate 40 years of independence. And like many countries that moved onto independence, we undertook a new constitution that has embraced multi-party politics and elections. Yet after 40 years, who would expect that St. Kitts Nevis, in a more enlightened world, will be struggling with poor leadership, my Street Dog family? The governing Labour Party, under the leadership of Dr. Terence Michael Drew, has failed dismally to address the needs of citizens and to drive a development agenda. It was way back in 1983 when the Federation was granted independence from Britain with a constitution that granted Nevis a large degree of autonomy as well as the guaranteed right of secession. A very unique constitution. The 1983 constitution gave St. Kitts Nevis legislative independence from the United Kingdom. And as I said, beg your pardon, the constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis is quite unique in that it creates a federation not between St. Kitts and Nevis, but between Nevis and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Very strange, very unique. In my view, in the view, beg your pardon, of many constitutional experts, and my view as well, I concur, it is a constitution founded in political expediency and a lack of total trust between leaders. The leader in Nevis at the time, Simeon Daniel, ensured that he indemnified the people of Nevis. He made sure he protected the people of Nevis by guaranteeing their right to secede, as can be gleaned from the controversial clause 113 in our constitution. Controversial, yes, because the then Premier Kennedy Simmons never secured, never protected, never indemnified any such right for the people of St. Kitts. St. Kitts and Nevis have one of the longest written histories in the Caribbean, I may add. And though we are separated by the shark-infested Narrows and just 2 miles apart, though we are very small in size, we were once widely recognized as being separate entities with distinct identities until the islands were forcibly united in the late 19th century. Yes, there was a federation of the Leeward Islands colony in 1871. Then 12 years later, in 1883, the governments of St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla were combined into the St. Kitts Assembly. The islands remained in the Leeward Islands Federation until they joined the West Indies Federation, which failed. The West Indies Federation from 1958 to 1962, which failed. You remember Dr. Eric Williams, 1 from 10 leaves 0. That famous quotation or comment. But in this federation, St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla was a separate state. Robert Bradshaw, remember, was the Minister of Finance for the short-lived federation. Years later, in 1967, Britain granted associated status to St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla, and immediately Anguilla would have none of it and seceded, my Straight Dog family.
As we press forward, late January of 1967, the date for associated status was on the 27th of February 1967. As a result of our push, organizing the people and keeping meetings, the British sent out a man called Johnson to try to persuade Anguilla to go along with statehood. As a result of Johnson coming to Anguilla, and let me say here that I, John Rogers, delivered that letter in protest to Johnson. Bradshaw and his Minister of Education, Fitzroy Bryant, came to Anguilla, kept a series of meetings, and we rejected all what he said. As a result of that, late January, a man called Arthur Bottomley and the Deputy Prime Minister Paul Southwell came to Anguilla, and we rejected their proposal. As a result of that, the late Billy Hobart and the elected representative of Angola, Peter Emmanuel Adams, went back to London to see if they could renegotiate a better arrangement. Because in that constitution, there was local government for Nevis and there was local government for Angola. There was no local government for the central government. And there were sections in that constitution which had give the premier the power to null council either in Nevis or in Angola. At their return, we then, with the help of Dr. Hobart, the late Dr. Hobart, we sent a proposal to Bradshaw outlining what type of local government we was prepared to accept. Bradshaw wrote us back and said there were no proposals before his government.
Yes, Bradshaw was not going to independence without Anguilla. And Nevis also threatened to secede at any time. But Bradshaw remained committed to a unitary state. Opposition to Bradshaw grew in Nevis as it was felt that the island was being neglected and unfairly deprived of revenue, investment, and services by St. Kitts. Bradshaw ignored the complaints from Nevis and remained a strong advocate of independence for the state of St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla. And when his Labour Party won all of the seats in St. Kitts in December 1975, he engaged in independence talks with London in 1976.
Talks on independence for this state will begin in London on 2nd March 1976 between ourselves and Her Majesty's government. Needless to say, independence, whether as a condition of fact or of mind or of concept, carries a meaning that is inherent in itself. Briefly, independence means being on your own. To be independent means that you're neither dependent upon nor subordinated to anyone. Thus, as we approach the independence which we have freely and deliberately decreed for ourselves, let us be no doubt at all about that which we shall embark upon. For manna will not fall from heaven just like that. Let us face it, knowing that it will demand of us hard work, patriotism, dedication, denial, objectivity, unity, and self-respect. And we must continue to be seen actively to be helping ourselves. Therefore, on this propitious day, let us all as brothers and sisters link arms together and deliberately say, out statehood in independence.
Out statehood in independence. Bradshaw insisted that manna won't fall from heaven. You have to work hard. Bradshaw, however, died in 1978 and was succeeded by his former deputy Paul Southwell, Caleb Azariah Paul Southwell, who himself died in 1979 under mysterious circumstances in St. Lucia. As a consequence, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party was plunged into a leadership crisis, but eventually Lee Llewellyn Moore succeeded Southwell as leader and premier. In any event, many Labour supporters remained suspicious about Southwell's death, and many chose to vote for the People's Action Movement the following year in the 1980 general elections. The division and disenchantment with the Labour Party also proved to be a key factor in the party's eventual fall from power. The People's Action Movement therefore benefited from the confusion in the Labour Party and was successful for the first time in the 1980 elections. PAM won 3 seats on St. Kitts, whereas the Labour Party won 4 seats. The Nevis Reformation Party Under the leadership of Simon Daniel, won 2 of the 3 seats on Nevis. PAM and NRP then formed a coalition government, and Kennedy Simmons was named premier. The change in government reduced the demand for Nevis's secession. 2 years later, Premier Simmons made this announcement in the parliament.
In December of 1979, a conference was held in London at which it was decided that St. Kitts and Nevis would proceed to independence in 1980, and that there would be a referendum 18 months after independence in which the issue of secession for Nevis would be put to the vote. I note, Mr. Speaker, that even though a decision had already been taken about proceeding to independence in 1980, the people of this country were presented with no constitutional proposals, nor was the matter of Anguilla's separation finally settled, nor was the concurrence of Nevis obtained for the independence decision. When therefore, Mr. Speaker, in February of 1980, the people participated in a general election, the issue was not whether the country would become independent, but when and how. Would it be under circumstances in which the people of both islands had no concept of the constitutional provisions, or in which Nevis was dragged into independence protestingly like an unwilling bride to the altar? No, Mr. Speaker. The election of 1980 determined that the country would become independent after, not before, Mr. Speaker, after the people of this country would have had the opportunity to study constitutional proposals and offer comments and suggestions. The election determined that the people would have an opportunity to understand the financial implications of independence. The election determined that there would be a new opportunity for development in Nevis, so that the wounds of disunity could be healed, and that Nevis could take part in an independence process resolved with her representatives on the basis of mutual understanding and mutual respect. The when of independence, Mr. Speaker, is now to be determined.
Prior to independence, negotiations between St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla, the associated states, were finally concluded in 1976. Anguilla, we know by now, seceded, and Nevis agreed to the existing conditions in our constitution, which allows Nevis to secede once certain requirements are met. But as a young boy, I recall my straight dog family. As a young boy, I recall that night when the Union Jack came down and our national flag, designed by Idris Lewis, went up, my straight dog family. I recall that night. All this was accompanied as well by the melodious rendition of our national anthem composed by Kenrick Georges. yes, my Street Dog family, the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis saw significant improvements under the PAM NRP coalition. Back then, my Street Dog family.
We had pipes but no water. We had some who had telephones, who had instruments, and you didn't know if you would get a call. And there were very few instruments in the village where I grew up in Zion. You had electricity off and on. We had roads, but sometimes you had more holes than actual roads. And when you wanted a top job, you had to go to St. Kitts. That's why people like Suswin Mills and those people ended up in St. Kitts. Whole set of divisions ended up in St. Kitts. But come self-government in Nevis after 1980, when we joined with the PAM to form the government, the people of Nevis saw a totally different Nevis. Own government, own ministers, roads, water, electricity, jobs, good paying jobs for people at home, and the sixth farm college, which has had a profound effect on the lives of Nevisians. No longer were we sending 4 students to St. Kitts to go to the sixth farm in St. Kitts. Nowadays we have more than 100 going to sixth farm in Nevis. All of those because we joined up with PAM in 1980.
But when the Douglas regime came to office in 1995, 15 years of improvement were threatened to be reversed. It got so bad, my Street Dog family, that in April 2014, the NIA's check was bounced by the National Bank. Or many of us remember that.
My fellow citizens, my fellow Nevisians, I wish on behalf of the Nevis Island administration to apologize to the Nevis public servants for the inconvenience caused today when they did not get their salaries as expected. This source of embarrassment to the NIA and the people of Nevis generally must never be allowed to happen again. The National Bank, our creditors, have agreed to honor the checks of the Nevis Island administration and to pay the salaries for the month of April. The situation, therefore, has been temporarily resolved, but it's my hope, my fervent hope, that we shall be able to have a permanent resolution to the financial arrangements with the National Bank as soon as we're able to meet after Friday, the 25th of April.
National Bank chairman back then was also the party organizer of the Labour Party, Contender Maynard, father of Congress Maynard, the one who bounced that check. But 1 year later, in came Team Unity, and things had never been better, and will never ever be better like it was back then. The footprint of Team Unity can still be seen all over Nevis, my Street Dog family, up to this particular moment.
Under Team Unity, the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis has never been better. It has never been better because we have seen Team Unity footprint across the entire landscape of Nevis. We have seen it at our new treasury building in Charlestown. We have seen it at our hospital rehabilitation and expansion project. We have seen it in our tender pier expansion. We have seen it in the government house rehabilitation project. We have seen it in the expansion of the abattoir and the vet clinic. We have seen it in the Handles Road rehabilitation project. We have seen it in the Uwali taxi pier. And I can go on and on and on, ladies and gentlemen. And that is why we of the CCM, we are sticking with PLP and we are sticking with Team Unity.
changed? Or what has changed, my Straight Talk family? Political differences don't necessarily hurt a relationship, according to clinical psychologist Susan Heitler, PhD, and author of The Power of Two, Secrets of a Strong and Love Marriage. And she writes, it depends on how strong the relationship is to begin with. If you put political differences into an undernourished partnership, the strain can be big, opined Dr. Heitler. The majority of Nevians and Kittitians believed that the relationship between our islands had been well nourished. The majority of Nevians and Kittitians trusted in the leadership of Vance Amory and Timothy Harris. But there is one thing that is unavoidable in life that we all learnt about, and that thing is called change. But we must change for better and not for the worse. And I am afraid that here in St. Kitts and Nevis, after 40 years of independence, we have embraced the latter, the worse. And that points to the lack of leadership, which is a continuous journey that requires self-awareness, openness, and a commitment to align actions with words. I listened to our Prime Minister, Dr. Drew, yesterday on a popular radio station. And as a Kittitian, I felt embarrassed. Yes, I was embarrassed by his behavior, especially coming after the 25th initiative of the Prime Minister's lecture series, which he hosted the night before. He hosted the lecture at the Marriott Ballroom, and I believe that everyone who attended was inspired except Terence Michael Drew. The guest speaker, C.A. Psyche Southwell, the granddaughter of C.A. Paul Southwell, and the daughter of yours truly, spoke to the prevalence of poverty in St. Kitts and Nevis. She said this.
Poverty remains a prevalent problem in St. Kitts and Nevis. And this is one of those social issues that, despite the fact I don't work in the field directly anymore, it is still near and dear to my heart. And in my opinion, the inequalities and injustices perpetuated by poverty are our greatest threats to growth, development, and sustainability. The very theme that is anchoring our entire independence for year 40. It was through my membership, right, with Amartya Sen's Capability Society that I finally found and embraced an understanding of poverty that connected the dots for me. It connected the dots for me because it made sense in the world that reared me. And one of the things I left and take with me in every field, you hear me do a lot of things, everything that I do is how we understand the problems. And hear this, the way that we define problems directly shape the solutions that we put forward. Policies and programs often fail, and they don't fail because they are not good ideas. They don't fail because they're not well-intentioned. They fail because they don't actually match or address the problem at hand. And if we continue, my friends, to define poverty solely as a lack of income or a lowness of resources, every policy will fail. Every anti-poverty program will fail to eradicate poverty if we're only looking at resources.
My Straight Talk family, she cautioned the administration against the influence of external institutions like the Bretton Woods institutions that have guided the social assistance program like PAP. Regrettably, young Senator Philip, my straight dog family, spoke to advice from one of such institutions, the International Monetary Fund, when she said this, my straight dog family.
And I actually want us to recognize that the advice we have gotten, particularly from IMF reports, is that we actually need to streamline our social services. And so the truth is, as we look at, especially in social development right now, what we're really trying to do is, as we deliver programs that we know we have had for quite some time with flagship programs, as we look at restructuring current programs, what we're really trying to do is also go through a research and data collection exercise where we can actually assess and get an idea and evaluate what the needs are of people who are most vulnerable. But it's not, the thinking is not about expanding social services so that we just increase our social assistance budget, because that is in fact not sustainable. And so we understand, of course, that people need assistance immediately, and we really try to service people who are most vulnerable. And so we also want to be able to apply conditions so that when we ask questions like, how are you using the PAP money? We're not trying to be invasive. We're just really trying to understand if it is that you're using this $500 to pay your lights, if you're needing the money to pay for food.
Well, my straight dog family, Psyche South will rubbish that view about advice from the IMF. I did when I first heard it. And I hope that the senator, the ministry, the minister, and by extension the government, the entire cabinet, would heed this advice, my straight dog family, from lecturer and professor and Dr. Southwell.
We small, but we tolerate. We in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis have the ability to explore the unique circumstances and vulnerabilities of the Kittitian and Nevisian experience, and hence advance policies that actually take that experience into consideration. I always keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening here in our federation. And I have one caution to make, one caution, and is that we ought to be cautious when considering the mandates and directives of external institutions whose one-size-fits-all policies don't address our uniqueness. So how can they address our problems? Rather than take outside, generalized approaches, we can develop homegrown, specialized solutions that reach everybody. We can be known as the Caribbean Federation that reaches everybody. We can join a handful of countries in the world that reach everybody. We can reach everybody because our small size is in fact our strength.
Our small size is our strength. And I observed on Tuesday night that most of the Duke cabinet, at least those who were on the island, I think, were present at the 25th initiative of the PM's lecture series. Both leaders in the Federation were also present in the persons of the Premier of Nevis and the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis. The Premier of Nevis has literally run the Nevis Island administration bankrupt, and many have deemed him a definite threat to our democracy. He is the leader of the federal opposition who never once spoke up for the nigh 8,000 persons in St. Kitts who voted against the Labour Party. Where is the voice of the 8,000 persons who did not vote for Labour in St. Kitts? It is a shame that almost 3,000, if you include Nevis, voted against them as well. So 11,000 electors have no spokesperson in the National Assembly of St. Kitts and Nevis. If that isn't a threat to our democracy, what is? And when you examine the political situation in Nevis as well, there's no leader of the opposition in the Nevis Island Assembly. We forgot that? There's no leader of the opposition in the Nevis Island Assembly as well. So there's no leader of the opposition in Nevis, and there's no leader of the opposition in St. Kitts Nevis. And what does that say about Mark Brantley and leadership, my Straight Dog family, after 40 years of independence? And I listened to Carlyle Powell for an opinion. His opinion is poignant.
Mark Brantley will be remembered by historians and by people who read this period of our history as a coward, as a very dictatorial person who was very anti-democracy. How does Mark Brantley feel when he goes to sleep at nights, knowing that there is no public accounts committee? And no public accounts committee because there is no leader of the opposition. There is nobody to watch and to look at Mark and say, well, boy, the more money you get is the more money you spend, and is the deeper in the whole Nevis goes. The Integrity Commission cannot have full membership because there is no leader of the opposition to appoint a member on the Integrity Commission. The one who can't get nothing done has decided, I am king, I am God. His place in history will not be a kind place because he has caused more division in Nevis and in Nevis politics and amongst the people of Nevis than any other person in politics ever in the history of Nevis. He's in a sorry place, and I'm sorry for him.
A sorry place. We are too, because on St. Kitts, there's no leader of the opposition. 8,000 persons, just about, who voted against the incumbent government have no voice in the opposition. My Straight Dog family, the continuing worries over jobs, the struggling economy, crime and violence, plus a failing health system are uppermost in the minds of Kittitians and Nevisians, I may add. Add all of the above to Dr. Drew's failure to lead, which is at the heart of the problems that the Federation is facing. People have discovered that Dr. Drew is not up to the task of leadership. His competence to do the job continues to be questioned. Remember, he spoke about investors? Where they are? Where are the investors? My Straight Dog family.
To do more. We should have been able to bring more investment in the country, having regard to our history, having regard to our experience. This has not happened in the last 12 months. And we must bear in mind that they had said that they had investors waiting. Well, where are these investors 12 months after?
Where are these investors? That's the fair question. And Dr. Drew must tell us where they are. He said it. He said the investors waited on labor. My Straight Dog family.
It's quite interesting that after the elections, a number of investors came forward. And they said, Dr. Drew, we had been waiting to invest in St. Kitts and Nevis. And they said, why you didn't do it then? And they said they couldn't do it under the last administration. So we are looking at that, so they will have more, foreign investment that would help to stir the economy.
Yes, my Straight Dog family. It's all about leadership. And the general consensus is that nothing is being done. After over a year of this administration, the campaign is over. My Straight Dog family. The campaign is over and it's time to govern. But nothing is happening. Nothing is being done by Straight Dog family. And that's the general consensus.
is considered the masses for you, Mr. Prime Minister? Because the masses for us as poor people might be different for you, so I would really like to know. And I also realize that every time they keep saying, if under the former administration this wasn't done, we are now aware, of course. We want to know what are you going to do, because as far as we are concerned, nothing is being done. People are feeling a serious squeeze if it was done when the pandemic was on. So you need to stop saying what this former administration didn't do, and know what you are going to do and how long it's going to take, because it's been a year now and nothing has been done.
Over a year and nothing has been done. And my Straight Talk family, as I conclude, I will concur. I will agree that we all want progress. But progress means getting nearer to the place where you want to be. And if you have taken a wrong turn, and Dr. Joe, you have taken many wrong turns, then going forward with your political nonsense and political tribalization and your political partisanship will not get you any nearer. Dr. Joe, you are on the wrong road. And progress would mean for you doing an about turn and walking back to the right road. And if you don't turn back, then our progress will be down the drain. Because if you are on the wrong road, progress means doing an about turn, as I said, and walking back to the right road. And in that case, the man who turns back soonest is the most progressive man. The country under Dr. Drew is heading in the wrong direction. He keeps looking back, but he must move forward according to our lecturer and my daughter, Psyche. This is the advice she leaves with them.
1983. Who could have imagined that St. Kitts and Nevis would be among the highest, if not still the highest, income earning country in the ECCU? Look at where we are. The Marriott Ballroom, nestled on a beachfront property in Frigate Bay, arguably the hub for our entire tourism industry. This was my grandfather's dream. CA Psyche Southwell gets to now live the dream of her grandfather, the Right Honorable CA Paul Southwell. I get to live it. You get to live it, we get to live it. A deep water harbor that can dock 4 cruise ships simultaneously. Let me tell y'all something. I took a cruise to Belize a few years ago. And you can imagine how I kind of stuck up my nose when they tell me I have to get off the ship to get on a boat to get to the port. Belize needs to talk to St. Kitts and Nevis because we're out here doing it. Don't even get me started about Port Zante, sitting on reclaimed land. Can you imagine the ingenuity, the foresight, the bravery they had to take to move on a project like that? Can you imagine? So here we are, my friends, in 2023. Can somebody please show me a problem that we cannot solve? What problem can we not solve in 2023? In 2023, we have more resources, more intelligence, more access, more tools, and hence more power to advance solutions that stick and edify the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Those lessons from the past are wonderful teachers. And sometimes you have to look back and move forward. You have to look back, but then you have to move forward. So my friends, I want to leave you the same way I came. With this question: what will we do in the next 350,640 hours? What will we do in the next 14,610 days? What will we do in the next 2,087 weeks? What will we do in the next 480 months? What will we do in the next 40 years?
Yes, my Stray Dog family. Her grandfather's dream was to develop Frigate Bay as a tourist area and the industrial side. And her father's dream was to further develop Port Sante and build a new cruise pier that could accommodate two of the world's largest ships simultaneously. And yes, my Stray Dog family, like my dear daughter, I submit after 350,640 hours, 14,610 days, 2,087 weeks, 480 months, 40 years, and our federation still yearns for leadership. That's my story tonight, my Stray Dog family, and I am not going to change it. I will open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails as well. We'll include them. But before I open the lines, and I'll do so momentarily, I want to implore you, as per usual, to respect others. And, of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of doing and or saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. What problem, ask yourself, that we here in St. Kitts and Nevis cannot solve? It's 9:09, 9 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. And I will go to the lines, my Stray Dog family, and say good night to our first caller. Good night, caller, you're live.
Hold up, my beloved brothers.
What's up, my brother? You're batting number one tonight.
Well, brother, first let me just tell the brother who called you tonight, and, you know, have to go and your presentation on Monday. But brother, you could call and repeat it. Your daughter, man. You know, that was, I don't he does some key points. It's a shame and a disgrace to all the gains that our ancestors made from our enslavement up to now, brother, to see. And we as a people, African people in St. Kitts and Nevis, is regressing. All those lands that our people shed blood, sweat, and tears and toil for centuries, going right back to the great grandchildren of our our beloved, and that's not right. And that boy from Monkey Hill, what? That thing about him, we forgive? Come on, man. And you cannot give African people, ancestors who need this financial assistance. Can him give them $500, which is meager assistance? I mean, you're supposed to be at least $1,000. I'm not saying the people who don't deserve it. No, I'm totally against that. And nobody should, you know what I mean, feed the system and try to rip it off and them things. No, you get people, especially the poor and sisters who are struggling, who have children, need to assist them. But no, you're going to assist people and forgive people. Multi-millionaires, if not billionaires. Come on, man. You know, but it's so sad. It's so sad. That's why, but the independence thing, it's just only on paper. It's only on paper. We have nothing to celebrate. Just on paper. Come on. We need more than ever more unity. We need to take control of our resources, our lands, because a landless people, brother, is a dead people in all fields of life, brother, and we must do that. But the Joker and his clowns, you know, that he got in his, that's an evil empire. I'm not surprised. I was warning my sisters and brothers and Liam and Owali about this boy. I said, listen, this boy could be worse than the boy from St. Paul's. But, and you know, it's so sad to see he was a masquerader. And Mark, brother, I am so disappointed and ashamed, and you have become a disgrace, brother. Your brother, who I was looking forward to become the next prime minister when Dr. Harris exit the stage politically. Brother, you're not of the entire federation, man. Come on. You're just masquerading. That's why you say I don't call your thing no more. No more.
Okay.
And brother, we just get to stand up, man. Our young people, young sisters and brothers, you are the now leaders and the future leaders, and you got to take a stand. Stop this smoking and drinking alcohol and just party. I mean, we all need to relax sometimes, because keep going, you get burned out.
Okay.
But this partying where you put front and center could never work. You got to struggle and stand up for justice and for rights and make everything is good with your people.
Okay.
Especially our elders, man, and our children, beloved. Brother, thanks again for hearing me. Keep up the great works. Pan-African is not place. I love my beloved brother.
I love my brother. Thanks as per usual for your intervention. We go straight back to the lines at 9:14. I want to thank this caller for holding. Caller, you live. Yes. How are you, my lord? How are you, my dear brother, the Bible man?
I'm fine, wonderful. Listening to you.
That's very kind.
You've been a great man. God have called you for this task. God, the children of Israel, there was the taskmaster. So God will want a deliverer. So God get a deliverer to bring the children of Israel out of the Egyptian hand. And so I am telling you, Mr. Patrick, continue to do what God called you to do. And as I'm saying to you tonight, as the word of God said to you, Mr. Patil, no weapon
formed against
that formed against you shall prosper.
none of them.
And every tongue that rises against in judgment shall be condemned. This is the heritage of the servant of the Lord, and the righteousness of you, said the Lord. Mr. Patrick, the Bible said, Psalm 41, blessed is the man that considereth the poor.
Yes.
In the time of trouble, the Lord shall deliver him. Mr. Patrick, God put you in this place to look after the poor people. So do not, as I tell you tonight, God called Jeremiah and tell Jeremiah, do not be afraid of their faces. And so God called you such a time like this. I am going to say that the word of God said, it is appointed unto man once to die, but after that is the judgment. And everything that people are craving for, one of these days, they are going to leave it behind. So all you have to do, Mr. Patrick, just look after the poor people. And God is going to strengthen you. He's going to overshadow you. And I'm saying to you tonight, Mr. Patrick, be strong. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but be strong. Thank you, Mr. Patrick. I come on the radio tonight to tell you, be strong. You see, I can say that, and I can finish now. You see that everybody believes that our God only holds the universe. God set up, and God bring down. So nobody who believes in the glory and the boat up and go on with all the kind of things, they cannot ever tell Mr. Patrick. Mr. Patrick, good night. Have a pleasant night, and thank you.
Have a pleasant night as well. Thanks for your intervention, and as usual, from the biblical perspective, my dear brother John. It's now 19 past the 9 o'clock hour. If you have just joined me, we are looking at our thesis for tonight. Our federation yearns for leadership after 40 years, my Street Dog family. And this, I'll take my emails and, also try to dispose of them, or dispense of them, whichever is the right word, as well as your telephone calls. In the meantime, every time, read this email. Every time this Prime Minister reads this email of ours, open his mouth, inevitably he criticizing Harris for not opening the country, my Straight Dog family, not open the country sooner rather than later. What this inexperienced leader failed to realize is that Harris had a cabinet of ministers, including Premier Brantley, and they together acted on the advice of the medical professionals and other stakeholders to open up the country at the time when it was done. So why this short-sighted, myopic leader of ours invariably accusing Harris for not opening up the country before? Dr. Joe, your illogical argument is baseless, injudicious, and arrogant nonsense. If Harris had refused to comply with the instructions given by the medical experts and there was an upsurge in COVID deaths, what would you be saying today? Thank God for Harris, who managed and navigated the Federation exceptionally well through the COVID pandemic. You, Dr. Joe, had ulterior motives for your aim to make money and not saving lives, but Harris was the opposite. And we thank the medical experts for rejecting the spoiled German vaccines you wanted to descend on us. But you were stopped in your deceitful tracks, and that is one why you are pursuing a hatred of vengeance, grudge, and discord with Harris. You have this penchant of wanting to bestow spoiled and rejected effects on other countries on us, but we will not stand for it. Let's go back to the lines. I want to thank this caller for holding. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Lywood. How you doing, man?
I am peaceful, my dear brother. And yourself?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Just listening to you tonight, I really want to big you up tonight, man, because I notice when you come, you present your facts and you put on the screens like your evidence and stuff like that. The Prime Minister has been going around talking about some stuff about some financial situations, and I believe that he should take an action on what he's saying, or else put that stuff to rest. Because from a legal standpoint, the way how he's talking, the rhetoric that he's using, I don't think that is really that wise. You know what I'm saying? And if such is the case, what he's talking about, he needs to present that evidence to a court or to his AG and instruct his agent to act on what he's talking about. If he's not going to do that, he needs to maybe put this stuff aside. And if he's trying to pursue it, he says he's not a witch hunt. He seems like it's a witch hunt to me. Otherwise, he won't pay people to get these audits and stuff like that. I know they paid a lot of money for that. So if he has these documents and he's not going to present them, I don't think he should be talking like that to the nation. You know what I'm saying? He has an AG who's his legal representative, and all he got to do is present his paperwork and down evidence that he say he got to a court, a grand jury, or whoever is responsible, the AG himself, who is the legal man in the Federation. And if they're not going to take action on this stuff, they need to put this aside. And he needs to start looking forward and govern his in his hands. And if he's going to govern looking in the rearview mirror, Sinkis and Nevis is going to get stalled out. I believe this is my personal advice to him. The man need to start diversifying the economy, and the man need to start building the economy and creating jobs for the youth. Otherwise, this crime is going to spiral out of control. There's a lot going on in the Federation, man. But if you don't pay attention, you're going to get lost. I don't believe in just talking, but I'm more of an action person. And I really want to say kudos to your daughter. Some of us is just finding out this stuff. And your daughter she made a great presentation. And I want to congratulate her for what she has done. And one question she asked of the crowd, she said on that podium when she was talking, she hoped that persons are not here tonight just to be here. And I hope the higher ups, man, they weren't at that event just to be sitting there in the audience because they're trying to get this status. You know what I mean? There's some takeaways that they have to take from the lecture series. The Prime Minister, all that, if they ain't take nothing from the lecture series, bro, I'm sorry for Sinkis and Nevis, man. It's a personal appeal by your daughter to to get the nation caught up, with this technology, and come forward and advance. Use this our size, and let our size be our advantage. And I've been having some conversation with a brethren of mine, last Eugene Carlisle Paris in New Jersey. I want to big him up, and we've been talking about some of these things, and we was out of tune. We got to be caught up, and we have made some great observations ourselves. And I want us to think this Nevis progress, man. The corruption got to get stamped out, and the mindset of the people got to be changed.
True.
In order for St. Nevis to advance, the mindset of the people got to change. Me personally, man, a lot of people don't know who I am. Give me 1 minute or 30 seconds so I can put my name out there again. My name is Burl Jones, and I'm from Cotton Ground, Nevis. I'm a product of Bill Jones and Gwendolyn Jones, and I'm a part of the Sargent family, and I'm very much interested in coming home and running for politics. But that stipulation that they have, that you need not to have a foreign passport, you can't tell that to an American-born citizen. An American-born citizen, you cannot tell them, no matter if they have 100 passports, you can't tell them that they cannot run for president or for positions in politics in their own country. And that stipulation that they got whether it's in the Constitution or in Parliament in St. Nevis, I hope somebody can get that removed. If that was, I will never give up my American passport to come home like that, bro. It's not guaranteed. And it's better for me to stay in this country and secure my future. If somebody wants to come back and contribute to my own society, that is like a block to me right now. And otherwise, I would have done being there already. I'm not the person that's scared to throw my hat in the ring, bro. And I want to big up somebody that I just recently got introduced to, Winston Welcome. He's interested in running for politics on the St. side. And, he has a lot of great ideas as well. And I want to big him up as well. That's one of your callers. Mm-hmm. And, we need to get cracking, man, in St. Nevis. We need new blood, man. We need new blood. Yes. We need new blood, man. We need new ideas. The young people on there, they have to get involved in their own society. You know what I mean? We have a lot of division between both islands. And yeah, you had Carlisle Powell on making his presentation, but I'm going to tell you something, man. We might like to hear what he's saying, but the cause of NRP falling apart is due and those guys' mishaps. They know that they should have tried to compromise and stay together and hold the leadership in Nevis feet to the fire. Now we don't have no opposition in Nevis, and really and truly, we don't have no opposition on the St. side either. So right now, a young person who is courageous enough in St. Nevis, a party with a spring up in St. and a party with a spring up in Nevis. We need this stuff in St. Nevis. Otherwise, bro, the situation in St. is going to stay the same. This independent stuff that you're talking about right now, tonight you mentioned independence is only really on paper, but it's too much division between St. and Nevis, bro. We gotta get control of this stuff, man. We gotta put St. and Nevis back on the track. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Jew, he got a great opportunity right now. He came in as a first leadership of the party, and yet still he's going down the same path. If I was in leadership of St. and Nevis, bro, it would be brand new persons in my whole cabinet, bro. It won't be no old people in my cabinet from past administrations. There would be none of that, man. I would have my own entourage. My own people would take control of St. and Nevis. St. and Nevis need a radical change, man. They might need a revolution down there. Otherwise, it will never change. We're still with this Westminster style system, and we're still with the old way of governing, bro. I have a lot to say, man, but if I start really rankling on here, bro, a lot of people, when they realize who I am, they might feel a type of way about me. But I'm not a person that really care what people think about me, bro. I'm going to voice my opinion when I have the chance to. I don't like wrong, and when I see wrong happening, I'm going to talk up against it. In Africa, the coups them that's happening there, is happening because of the corrupt leaders keep selling out the countries and selling out their man natural resources. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we don't have the natural resources, but that CBI program is acting like as if that's our natural resources from the monies that they've been generating through that program. Dr. Drew himself said yesterday on Freedom that the CBI program is generating more money than the tourism that you are worshiping. And if that CBI program is generating so much money, bro, St. Kitts and Nevis need to be in tip-top shape from 40 years ago since that program started until now. Some talk from the Nevis side. Brantley them said that they did some investigations. $588 million came into Basteterre last year. Where is that money going, bro? Where is that money going? St. Kitts and Nevis need to operate like one state so that the projects then could be done on both islands. And these indifferences that we have is seeing the programs them are faltering. They're starting programs and they're not finishing them. And all of this stuff, bro, gotta be changed, man. Yo, I got a lot to say about St. Kitts and Nevis, man. But if I was down there on the ground, bro, I would have make a contribution and make a difference. And that's my talk for tonight, man. My name is Burl Jones, and I'm from Cotton. You read anybody who wants to talk to me, y'all can find me, and y'all know who knows me, bro. My number is 862-218-6422, and I can be reached on WhatsApp by anybody in St. Kitts and Nevis. And my personal plight tonight is I need the persons in St. Kitts and Nevis, even the elders, to get caught up with this new technology. St. Kitts and Nevis need to have a smartphone. The phone companies have to do seminars and train how to use these smartphones so we can have more effective conversation, communications with not only the people in St. Kitts and Nevis, but the citizens of Nevis who's in the diaspora. That's my contribution tonight, man.
Thank you.
Happy Independence Day, and have a ball, man. Thanks a lot. You guys have a good night.
Thanks a lot, my dear brother. Yeah. Coming from the heart, yeah. I trust we all sat up and listened. At times the quality wasn't 100%, but a mouthful and well said. Mr. Burl Jones from Cotton Ground in Nevis originally. And he made a point about the brand clause in the Constitution. Very interesting perspective. Hello Patches reads this email. Can you help me, sir? I am hearing that the lawyers for Christopher Harbour, beg your pardon, are the same lawyers for the National Bank, the bank which forgave the interest on its debt for that project. Millions in interest just thrown away like that. Can that be real? Do you know the name of the firm of lawyers who work for either of those entities, or will we have to seek the information from A.G. Wilkin? Poor, hard-working people cannot get a break. No government is forgiving any interest for them. What a shame, reads this email. First, let me say congratulations to you, to your daughter, reads this other email, Psyche, for her great presentation at the Prime Minister's lecture on Tuesday. It was evident that she connected with the young students in attendance. Hopefully next year, the organizers will allow online listeners and viewers to submit questions. It was strikingly awkward to hear the featured speaker speak passionately and advocate for the use of technology throughout our country's public sector, but yet one of the basic forms of modern communication was not utilized at the forum. In her presentation, Ms. Southwell made mention of the Federation being the highest income earning country within the ECCU in 1983. That line did not receive any applause, but her next line of her being able to give her speech in the area where her grandfather, the Honorable Paul Southwell, had his dream for tourism, that got a big applause. She then mentioned about the cruise port that docks 4 ships and Port Zante being a project of ingenuity and foresight. No applause. I think she was trying to show them what political maturity looks like, working together for the good of the country. It was sad to see grown-ups acting like children. Where is the country above self? She also made the point, the old identities that we were given, we don't have to stick with them forever. One can take that principle and apply it to our political immaturity in the Federation. Example, just because my grandmother voted for a particular party means I have to vote that way. Miss Southwell posited the point, our size makes us a superpower with the ability to tackle problems like poverty. She made it clear that institutions like the IMF should not have the last say in how we run our affairs. I hope her message did not fall on deaf ears, and I wish her continued success in her career. Read that email. Let's go to the lines at 9:37. Caller, I want to thank you for holding your live.
Thank you. Good night, Patrick.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night to the one. Good night to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yes, good night, my brother.
Mr. Jones, I heard you. And I am 100%. If there could be more, I applaud you. Mr. Patches, I applaud your daughter for that miraculous speech that she made. That is something to listen to. But where I come in now, as I will continue from Mr. Jones, we speak the same language, and we have spoken the same language. And if I may add, mine, St. Kitts and Nevis people, you are, and you.
Are you there?
Than to be by another galaxy. Go deep in your hearts. 1 + 1 = what's the number? I'm not going to say it, but we all have that in common. We know what it is. Problem in St. Kitts. The people must come first. What makes the government the people? And the government is the people, and it should be for the people. There will be opposition. There will be adversaries. But go to your heart and make what makes sense. We all have that intellectual in common. Prime Minister, at the same time, I must love you, and I could give my to run the country in a better way, change direction. And like I will affirm what I've said before. You have to fire those negative, low energy people around you. They are making you bad. We all know you meant good, but you look bad. And you got to reshuffle your cabinet around you. You are not being advised to the way you should. Because I need you to come good. So when you step aside, I can carry on the goodness that you do with a new phase of doing good also. And I'm seriously, he's a competitor for the next upcoming election. So either you do or you die. But I'm going to... Let me just inject this other one. There's a health hazard in St. Kitts and Nevis. And it's the mosquito infestation. And the health department got to do their work because all these cars abandoned in the bushes, they become a health hazard to the storage of water for mosquito to breathe. And the health department has to clean this up. Whoever is the supervisor, manager of the health department. And and look for the last owner who owned the whole. 1 week, put that garbage where it's supposed to be, and after 1 week, if they don't, prosecute them, find them. That is one of the biggest threats to St. Kitts. Those mosquitoes. I left St. Kitts with a lot of mosquito bite, and they gave me water bombs. But thank God I reached back in America where I could get my antibiotics and what. Okay? The people in St. Kitts don't have the opportunity. So the government has to do something about that. Because it's no fun. Mosquito bite harder than Jack Spanner. And they carry the disease, whether it's malaria or whatever. And you got to clean up that to do your work. You all not doing a good job. So get your ass up tomorrow and move forward and get this country cleaned up. Both St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay.
Have your comment again, please.
Okay, my brother. Thanks for your intervention. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello.
Yes. Good evening, Patches. I want to point out something concerning Mark Brannigan. You realize the only way that Mr. could have become a minister of government was because he provided the deputy speaker. That's why he doesn't oppose anything from the Labour Party. I remember when Joe was putting his cabinet together, everybody were wondering, well, how come this young lady will be a minister? So who would be the deputy? Only to find out Mark provided the deputy speaker. And that's why he's so silent. I think it needs its own opposition leader. You know, as you say, he's a threat to democracy.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I said, there's some, sorry to interrupt you, but there's some, just about 8,000 persons on St. Kitts alone did not vote for the Labour Party, you know. So there's no voice.
I definitely agree with you.
Mm.
Okay, I'm going to be like those other guys. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your intervention. Lawyer Azad Gums, as a trained lawyer, I expect that you will be up to date with the laws and regional cases that the Privy Council has given judgment on, reads this email. This morning on your program, Island Tea, you uttered false and misleading statements to the public. You gave the impression, Azad, that parliamentarians can say anything defamatory about anyone and is immune from prosecution because they are protected under the Parliamentary House rules. No, Azad, do your legal research and you will discover that carte blanche authority and privilege has been struck down by the Privy Council. There are many reported cases out of Trinidad, Barbados and other Commonwealth countries such as South Africa and Australia where litigants have brought parliamentarians to court on libel and defamatory charges for inaccurate statements made against them in Parliament, and they were found liable and subsequently had to pay for damages. That is real facts, reads this email. Very interesting email. Need to research that myself. A shame so tale. Good night, Patches. I was so ashamed of my Labour Party and Labour government when I saw and heard Dr. Jew on Freedom yesterday. Is Jew a real person? We did not know that he lacked ethics and basic moral standards when we voted for him during the leadership battle, but we really did not know what we were doing when we did not have elections until we got a clear majority of votes. Even if someone told Drew that the check was written up for $650,000, does Drew really believe that in our good national bank that the check was cashed in raw cash? Poor Dr. Drew. I see why Douglas did not want us to support Congress for leader of the party because, or I see why Douglas did want to support Congress for leader of the party because Dr. Joe is giving a new meaning to dummy and immature. He needs to resign for that BS he spilled yesterday on freedom, and poor Ike could not make him any wiser because two of them spill BS every time they speak. He's just making Timothy Harris look and sound like a real prime minister because you trying too hard to be accepted and look like he's doing something. He is destroying the country every time he opens his mouth, even evil venom mouth, beg your pardon, with this email. It's 9:46, my straight dog family. If you have just joined me, and I have a few emails to dispose of, and if you just joined me, tonight's programming, the thesis we introduced is titled, My Straight Dog Family. My thesis is titled, Our Federation Yearns for Leadership After 40 Years. My Straight Dog Family. And we raise the point. We did raise the point that after 40 years, the level of responsibility, we have moved on to independence, and the performance of this Jew administration has failed miserably to address the needs of citizens to drive our development agenda. We reflected on our journey to independence, my straight dog family, and we came right to where we are in terms of the 40th anniversary of our independence, which is being celebrated with different activities that will culminate on Tuesday, the 19th of December. The 19th of September, beg your pardon. So if you have just joined me, we're very small in size. We're once widely recognized as being separate entities, St. Kitts and Nevis, until they were forcibly united or forced together in the late 19th century, to wit in 1883. But my straight dog family, we also came fast forward to our current situation. We got up to date. And in the process of getting up to date, we looked and we considered as well where we are in fact as we speak. We made the point that political differences don't necessarily hurt a relationship. And that's what happened with Team Unity. We referred to the book authored by clinical psychologist Susan Heitler, Dr. Heitler, under the caption, The Power of Two, Secrets of a Strong and Loving Marriage. And she wrote, it depends on how strong the relationship is to begin with. If you put political differences into an undernourished partnership, the strain can be big, opined Dr. Heitler. And the majority of individuals and Kittitians believe that the relationship between us still believe that our relationship between our islands, especially under Team Unity, were well nourished. The majority of individuals and Kittitians, no matter what you try to say, no matter how you try to distract us, they trusted in the leadership of Vance Amory and Timothy Harris. But as I said, one thing that's unavoidable in life that we all learned about that thing is called change. But whenever we change, we must change for the better and not for the worse. And I'm afraid that here in St. Kitts and Nevis, after 40 years of independence, we have embraced the latter. We have changed for the worse. And that points to the lack of leadership, which is a continuous journey that requires self-awareness, openness, and a commitment to align actions with words. Let's take a few more emails, my Straight Dog family, and I'll get right back to that, my Straight Dog family. Well, this email reads, I attended the Prime Minister's lecture on Tuesday night and was very much impressed with the message delivered by the guest speaker. It was one of the best I have heard and listened quite attentively to for the several years of my attendance. However, Senator Clark, who responded to the speech, dampened my spirit and enthusiasm with her foolish political little girl behavior when she named all of the prime ministers, Douglas in particular, who initiated the Prime Minister's lecture series, and carried on by Simmons and Drew, she stated. But for reasons unknown, she purposely omitted to call the name of Dr. Harris, our third Prime Minister, who continued with the program during his tenure as Prime Minister. So what this petty, feeble-minded, simpleton senator, who nobody voted for, was trying to prove? Nevertheless, I recaptured my buoyant mood when the lady chairperson called the names of Douglas, Simmons, Harris, and Drew. I think it was Douglas, Harris, and Drew, though, for the continuation of the program. It was unfortunate, but the senator didn't know any better. Yes, it started under Douglas, continued with Harris, and still continues until today. It was first introduced by Douglas, to be accurate. As our gums, you have a great opportunity on Island Tea every day to promote yourself as the PAM prospective candidate for number 4. But you're not using that privilege to your advantage. It seems to me that you're not serious. Reads this email. This email reads, it was with utter dismay when I heard the Prime Minister on his favorite radio reading selectively from an audit report about $20 million missing at Development Bank. Why don't he publish the report? Be transparent. Taxpayers' money paid for that report. It is not his private report. I hear he planned to go in Parliament and read selectively from it like a coward. A little boy said outside of Parliament if you vouch for the report. Failure to do so will be met with skepticism and be seen as political, reads this email. Patches, I saw a photo with you and your 2 daughters that was going viral online, and the 3 of you look exactly like conjoined twins. I had to conclude that you are not only a straight talker, but a straight shooter as well. Congratulations to you and your daughter, who delivered such astounding and stimulating address at the Prime Minister's lecture. Her performance was electrifying and arguably was the best ever given at these Prime Minister's lectures over the years. Congratulations again, Miss Southwell Liebert, reads this email. Yes, those are the emails, my Straight Dog family, and as we wind down, I'll perhaps take perhaps 2 more calls if we are guided by brevity. And again, for those who would have joined me late, as I said, our theme tonight, we caption our federation yearns for leadership after 40 years. I was making the point that change is unavoidable, but we must change for better and not for worse. I'm afraid that here in St. Kitts and Nevis, after 40 years of independence, we have changed for the worse. And that points to the lack of leadership, which is a continuous journey that requires self-awareness, openness, and a commitment to align actions with words. I listened to Prime Minister Jew, or Dr. Jew, yesterday as well on this radio station. And as a Kititian, I was embarrassed by his behavior, especially coming after the 25th initiative of the Prime Minister's Lecture Series, which he hosted for the second time. So one would think after that night, that really wonderful night with a wonderful presentation, he would come the next day and would have been guided by the advice that was proffered by Lady Southwell. My Straight Dog family, the guest speaker, C.A. Psyche Southwell, the granddaughter of C.A. Paul Southwell, and the daughter of yours truly, Ian Patches Liburd, spoke to the prevalence of poverty in St. Kitts and Nevis, and gave him every opportunity to tell the country what he was hoping to do with the issue of poverty in the country. Because as a caller said to him, that nothing is happening.
Who is considered the masses for you, Mr. Prime Minister? Because the masses for us as poor people might be different. For you, so I would really like to know. And I also realize that every time you keep saying, if under the former administration this wasn't done, this wasn't done. We are now aware, of course. We want to know what are you going to do, because as far as we're concerned, nothing is being done. People are feeling a serious squeeze. It's being worse than when pandemic was on. So you need to stop saying what this former administration didn't do, and know what you are going to do and how long it's going to take, because in a year now and nothing has been done.
Absolutely nothing. And very importantly, he must tell us how he's going to address the 1 in 5 persons in St. Kitts who are poor.
Poverty remains a prevalent problem in St. Kitts and Nevis. And this is one of those social issues that, despite the fact I don't work in the field directly anymore, it is still near and dear to my heart. And in my opinion, the inequalities and injustices perpetuated by poverty are our greatest threats to growth, development, and sustainability. The very theme that is anchoring our entire independence for the year 40. It was through my membership, right, with Amartya Sen's Capability Society that I finally found and embraced an understanding of poverty that connected the dots for me. It connected the dots for me because it made sense in the world that reared me. And one of the things I left and take with me in every field, you hear me do a lot of things, everything that I do is how we understand the problems. And hear this, the way that we define problems directly shape the solutions that we put forward. Policies and programs often fail, and they don't fail because they are not good ideas. They don't fail because they're not well-intentioned. They fail because they don't actually match or address the problem at hand. And if we continue, my friends, to define poverty solely as a lack of income or a lowness of resources, every policy will fail. Every anti-poverty program will fail to eradicate poverty if we're only looking at resources.
Stray Dog family, this message reads, what's the latest, sir, with the cheap Chinese Lego houses that Jew said was to be the basis of housing revolution in the Federation? First, the model homes were to be started in April, and then when that didn't happen, Drew said they would start in June. We are nearly in October and still no Lego houses have started construction. Drew is all promises and nothing more. Dear Lord, help us. We've elected a circus of clowns, haven't we? With this email. I think that's my final email I have for tonight, my Straight Talk family. And as we wrap tonight's programming, the advice was also provided in respect of the influence of these external institutions, and we trust that Drew and his cabinet would heed this advice as well.
Small, but we tolerate. We in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis have the ability to explore the unique circumstances and vulnerabilities of the Kittitian and Nevisian experience, and hence advance policies that actually take that experience into consideration. I always keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening here in our federation. And I have one caution to make. One caution, and is that we ought to be cautious when considering the mandates and directives of external institutions whose one-size-fits-all policies don't address our uniqueness. So how can they address our problems? Rather than take outside, generalized approaches, we can develop homegrown, specialized solutions that reach everybody. We can be known as the Caribbean Federation that reaches everybody. We can join a handful of countries in the world that what? Reach everybody. We can reach everybody because our small size is in fact our strength.
Yes. And both leaders in the Federation, as I conclude, were present in the persons of the Premier of Nevis and the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis. Whereas the Premier has literally run the Nevis Island administration bankrupt, and many have deemed him a definite threat to our democracy because he's the leader of the federal opposition who never once spoke up for the 8,000 persons who voted against the Labour Party in St. Kitts. And when combined, it's a shame that almost 11,000 electors have no spokesperson in the National Assembly as the leader of the opposition. Never opposes, never once opposed the government. But it's not surprising because when you examine the political situation in Nevis as well, there is no leader of the opposition in Nevis Island Assembly. What does that say about Mark Brantley? What does that say about democracy? And what does that say about leadership after 40 years of independence? And Powell Carlyle addressed that.
Mark Brantley will be remembered by historians and by people who read this period of our history as a coward, as a very dictatorial person who was very anti-democracy. How does Mark Brantley feel when he goes to sleep at nights, knowing that there is no public accounts committee? And no public accounts committee because there is no leader of the opposition. There is nobody to watch and to look at Mark and say, well, boy, the more money you get is the more money you spend, and is the deeper in the whole Nevis goes. The Integrity Commission cannot have full membership because there is no leader of the opposition to appoint a member on the Integrity Commission. The one who can't get nothing done has decided, I am king, I am God. His place in history will not be a kind place, because he has caused more division in Nevis and in Nevis politics and amongst the people of Nevis than any other person in politics ever in the history of Nevis. He's in a sorry place, and I'm sorry for him.
He has caused great division in St. Kitts as well, or in St. Kitts Nevis, we may add. But as I conclude, my Straight Talk family, the continuing worries over jobs, the struggling economy, over crime and violence, over our failing health system, are uppermost in the minds of all Kittitians and divisions. In addition to all of that, Dr. Drew's failure to lead is the heart, or at the heart, of the problems our federation is facing. People have discovered that Dr. Drew is not up to the task of leadership. His competence or competences have come to the fore. He cannot do the job, and is always questioned. He promised what he don't deliver. He promised to get investors. My Straight Talk family.
It's quite interesting that after the elections, a number of investors came forward. And they said, Dr. Joe, we had been waiting to invest in St. Kitts and Nevis. And they said, why you didn't do it then? And they said they couldn't do it under the last administration. So we are looking at that, so they will have more, foreign investment that would help to stir the economy.
We should have been able to do more. We should have been able to bring more investment in the country, having regard to our history, having regard to our experience. This has not happened in the last 12 months. And we must bear in mind that they had said that they had investors waiting. Well, where are these investors 12 months after?
And that's a fair question. Where are these investors 12 months after? But nothing, absolutely nothing is happening. Everybody is crying out.
Who is considered the masses for you, Mr. Prime Minister? Because the masses for us as poor people might be different. For you, so I really no. And I also realize that every time they keep saying, if under the former administration this wasn't done, this wasn't done. We are now aware, of course. We want to know what are you going to do, because as far as we are concerned, nothing is being done. People are feeling a serious squeeze. It's feeling worse than when pandemic was on. So you need to stop saying what this former administration didn't do, and know what you are going to do and how long it's going to take, because it's been a year now and nothing has been done.
And we want progress. We all want progress. But progress means getting nearer to the place where you want to be. And if you take a wrong turn, then going forward does not get you any nearer. That's what we want to leave with Dr. Drew. And like that caller said to him, he keeps looking back. But Psyche, yes, said, he keeps looking back. But he must now move forward. My Straight Talk family.
1983. Who could have imagined that St. Kitts and Nevis would be among the highest, if not still the highest, income earning country in the ECCU? Look at where we are. The Marriott Ballroom, nestled on a beachfront property in Frigate Bay, arguably the hub for our entire tourism industry. This was my grandfather's dream. CA Psyche Southwell gets to now live the dream of her grandfather, the Right Honorable CA A. Paul Southwell. I get to live it, you get to live it, we get to live it. A deep water harbor that can dock 4 cruise ships simultaneously. Let me tell you all something. I took a cruise to Belize a few years ago. And you can imagine how I kind of stuck up my nose when they tell me I have to get off the ship to get on a boat to get to the port. That Belize needs to talk to St. Kitts and Nevis because we're out here doing it. Don't even get me started about Port Zante, sitting on reclaimed land. Can you imagine the ingenuity, the foresight, the bravery it had to take to move on a project like that? Can you imagine? So here we are, my friends, in 2023. Can somebody please show me a problem that we cannot solve? What problem can we not solve in 2023? In 2023, we have more resources, more intelligence, more access, more tools, and hence more power to advance solutions that stick and edify the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Those lessons from the past are wonderful teachers. And sometimes you have to look back, then move forward. You have to look back, but then you have to move forward. So my friends, I want to leave you the same way I came. With this question: what will we do in the next 350,640 hours? What will we do in the next 14,610 days? What will we do in the next 2,087 weeks? What will we do in the next 480 months? What will we do in the next 40 years?
Yes, my Street Talk family. Very important questions to answer. And that's going to do it for tonight for me. But before I go, tomorrow is Friday. And Saturday, Heroes Day. Let us recall that the PLP Health Walk starts at 5:30 a.m. at the Bellevue Hard Court and ends at the Boreal Strip, where breakfast will be served. Opportunities to socialize and relax, have fun, and play dominoes, etc. I'll be there, God spare. But as I wrap tonight's program, I echo the words of my dear daughter Psyche. And I submit, after 350,640 hours, 14,610 days, 2,087 weeks, 480 months, 40 years. After 40 years, our federation yearns for leadership. That's my story tonight, and I'm not gonna change it until we connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk. In the event I don't hear you on Monday, or you don't hear me, you have something else to do. Happy Independence when it comes on Tuesday. But remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. See you on Saturday at the Bellevue Hard Court at 5:30 a.m. for that PLP Health Walk. Until then, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember, my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday.
In the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give him thanks and praise.